Theresa May's speech to the Conservative Party conference, how did she do? Now, I'm going to analyse this from a technical point of view. I'm a professional speaker and speech coach. I'm not about to get into politics or policies. Well, in a sentence, not very well. There were a couple of things that threw her. One that she couldn't have anticipated. That was where a prankster, calls himself Lee Nelson, came up and handed her a spoof P45, which she accepted and threw down on the stage at her feet. She couldn't have expected that, and I don't know how he got through security, but that's a separate issue. The fact is, she didn't quite know what to do. She went on with her speech for a little bit, and then there was a hiatus as he was escorted from the hall. She didn't really know what to do at the end of that. She did use a line about Jeremy Corbyn's P45, but it didn't really work very well. Somebody like Boris Johnson or Tony Blair or William Hague would have handled it brilliantly in the moment. So she's not confident about that. She didn't like going off script. The second thing was she got a coughing fit, and that can happen to anybody. However, if she's prone to that, then there are things that can be done in advance. She can have some soothing drink on stage. She can have taken some kind of medication beforehand to just ease her throat. Apparently, she did 20 plus TV interviews the day before, and that could have left her tired. And leaders are always tired when they deliver these sorts of speeches because they're up making last minute changes and rehearsing. But they've got to practice. They've got to rest. They've got to be ready. And it looked to me as though she really wasn't quite ready. She didn't seem to be prepared enough. She's not terrific in her delivery anyway. She can be a little bit wooden, and when she tries to hit some of those phrases, it doesn't always work. This was clearly a speech called The British Dream. She repeated that phrase over and over again. That was the theme of the speech. Came right back at the end. The theme was fine, although a lot of people didn't really know what the British Dream was. I assume it's an analogue of the American Dream. So maybe some of her speechwriters have been watching some of Trump's speeches and thinking, well, that's a good thing to use. I don't know, because the British Dream is an unfamiliar phrase. And if you use an unfamiliar phrase as a theme, it doesn't necessarily work. At the start of her speech, she made an apology, which is fine. That was a good thing to do. Although she talked about the campaign and it as though it wasn't her, it was somewhere removed. I think it would have been better to be personal. But then she talked about being over-scripted and over-presidential. And of course, her entire speech was scripted, as these speeches tend to be. So it was a little bit odd and a little bit ironic that she was talking about people complaining about something being scripted when she was doing something that was being scripted. But there you are. So I say she's not a natural speaker. She doesn't present particularly well on stage, so she needs practice. She needs coaching. She needs to be able to hit those phrases, and she needs to be given a script which suits her style. And that was the other thing about the speech. It didn't sound like her. It sounded like a speech that had been written for her to make an impact. I'm sure she had lots of input to it, but it didn't sound like her authentic voice. And that, for me, was the main thing. You know, the coughing fit can happen. The interruption can happen. For me, she didn't sound authentic. It didn't sound as though she felt what she was saying. And I'm sure she meant it, but it just didn't come across very well, certainly as far as I was concerned. So overall, I think the speech was fairly wooden. I think it was scripted, heavily scripted and not practiced enough. I don't think she handled the interruptions at all well. And there was even one more thing that she could have done nothing about and probably didn't know, and that was that even letters started falling off the stage behind her. So the bottom of the phrase, for everyone, it was something about building a future for everyone. By the end of the speech, the F had fallen off one end and the E had fallen off the other, so it just said, or everyon. Now, again, that's one of those things, and it'll be picked up by photographers. But it didn't look good. The overall impression, and that's what people are left with after a speech. They don't remember exactly what was said. They don't remember policies. They remember the overall impression. The overall impression was not great. So on that performance, I'd give Theresa May 4 out of 10.